Hey y'all, so I know it's kind of been a while. It is December 30th of 2022, and for the last few weeks, I've been depressed. So when I get in my down moods, I really internalize everything, and it works for me, okay? It works for me. But I'm back on here to tell y'all what I've been watching. I think I already mentioned it, but film is one of the ways I get out of my depression. I find something I can tune into, tune out the world, go somewhere else for a little bit. That hopefully inspires me to figure out my own problems. So I've actually watched a lot. Never stopped doing that. The first one I'll tell you about is The Invitation, because this was actually like I was probably 3 or 4 days like deep in the down, in the doubts, and the anxiety, and the fatness, like negative self-talkness. And yeah, The Invitation was a movie that I watched that kind of like jumped me out of that. You like got my creative juices flowing, and yeah, so Invitation is a great film. It's on Netflix now. It wasn't on Netflix when I watched it. I had actually like waited a long time for that to become on some streaming platforms, but it took forever. So I actually watched it, and then like 3 days later I saw coming soon on Netflix. So that's helpful. But anyway, I streamed it. I did what I had to do to watch it. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I loved it. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. I think I would give it an 8 out of 10. It was a solid film. Like, all films gonna have their issues or whatever, but it was a good 8 out of 10 if you're into a little bit of fantasy. I actually watched it twice. And the second time was a couple weeks after, and it was with my family. And my grandmother was like, yeah, this looks good as long as it's not a vampire movie. And of course, I didn't tell her. I didn't divulge all of the twists and turns of the movie. But yeah, there's some supernaturalness going on. In case you don't know, it is about this mixed race girl. She's half white and half black, and she just lost her mother. I believe she lost her father a long time before, and she's still in mourning. She doesn't have a lot of friends. She's working hard. She's an artist, but that's not where she get most of her money. So she has like this catering gig that she works. She's got a solid bestie who I love. Her character, I wish had more presence in the film, but definitely served this role for what it was. And she randomly, well, it's not that random. She, like I said, she was working as a caterer, and for one of the events, she was working for this big like DNA company. So think like Ancestry.com type, and her friend like smuggled her and them some like goodie bags so they could get a free trial, or they could try the service. And she does that, and in discovering her heritage, she realizes that there's more to her bloodline than she thought before, and she actually gets reached out to by a distant cousin who just happens to be in New York. I think that's where they were, and wants to meet up. So she meets up with this distant cousin. It is this random, like British white guy, and he basically convinces her to go to a wedding to meet all of their other family members, because apparently she's from this like prestigious bloodline. They got all this kind of money, all that kind of stuff. Everybody been looking for her, stuff like that. So she flies across the country without her bestie, against my best judgment, but to meet these people she ain't never met before, who supposedly be her family. And she learns more about her family. She's staying in this estate that is a family friend's. Turns out like he's this cool, sexy, eligible bachelor type dude who's digging her, and she like him too, so they start vibing and have their own little thing going on. But yeah, I'll stop there before I divulge too much. But basically she just learns more about the side of the family she never knew about, and this new lord of the manor that she's met, and how he ties into her family blood ties too. But great film, highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. Go check it out. Now, I told y'all, like, yeah, I watched The Invitation and it was really good, and it kind of like got me out of my depression a little bit. Like, I was looking for more. But I also, like, aside from finding new movies and shows to watch, I'm often revisiting the shows and movies that have had an impact on my life in the past. A show I really got into during the pandemic is called The OA. It is also on Netflix, so you can watch The Invitation and then binge The OA right after, just like I did. And the OA is a mind freak. I want this to be a PG channels. It's a mind freak. It's a mind flip. It's going to warp your perception, and you definitely need to be open to like the sci-fi aesthetic. It's not super sci-fi that's like robots and zombies and that kind of thing, but it does have to do with time travel. Y'all, this show tackles so many themes. It tackles time travel, parallel universes, depression, mental health in general, abduction. What else? Just love. This is a little love story. So many themes. I know I'm missing some. Hold on, I'm gonna pause it and think of some more. So it tackles addiction, and then it, like, on a whole nother level, tackles like gaming addiction and specificity. Let me stop. But yeah, regular addiction, addiction to gaming. It tackles what else was I gonna say? Like the intelligence, the higher intelligence of other organisms out there who are not humans. Think like, elephants, whales, dolphins, octopuses, octopi. It challenges like just so yeah, like it discusses higher brain function, just like in general, how what we do today will affect our future. Like, it's just loaded with themes. Like, I think this is the most theme junkie show I've ever watched. There's so much it addresses, and there's only 2 seasons. You can really binge the whole thing in like a day, maybe like 3 days for normal people, but a day. And it's so good. I feel like I'm missing some things. When I was rewatching it, I was like, I need to jot down all these themes, because there's just like so many social issues and like internal battles that it addresses directly. And yeah, but I didn't write them down, so that's why I'm trying to ramble from memory, but I think I've listed at least like 10 things, so that's good enough. Another reason, if all of this has not been enough to watch it, is Queen Zendaya is in it, and she's one of those unexpected characters. I don't know why this show is not more prevalent and talked about, because Euphoria is good, but this show, like, it takes human existence to a whole nother level. Like, I feel like all of the attention Zendaya got from and Euphoria was well worth it, but it's like the OA deserves just as much of attention, and it doesn't get that. And I think that tells you where we are as a race and like intelligently. But anyway, yeah, Zendaya, she do her thing in this, and I'm so happy she put her stamp on it, because it's a great show. What is it about, you might be wondering? So it's actually about this girl who has been missing for the last 7 years. She went missing. Her parents never stopped fighting to find her, but all of a sudden she resurfaces in this weird, like, disoriented state, and she is being treated like, a random abduction victim. But like, there's so much more to her story. She doesn't feel comfortable sharing with her parents, so she finds a community of people that live like neighbors, people who live in her town, to listen to her story, and she gets them involved in her embarkation on really going back to where she was. So like I told you, time travel is a big theme. So like she basically lures these locals into her story by telling it as she experiences it, and then she inspires them to make more of their own lives by practicing these things that she's learned to expand consciousness, essentially. So she's got these locals into, like, it's not like a seance, like it's not like a witch coven, but that's how the community is seeing it, because she hasn't been open about her experience to anyone else other than these 5 individuals. So she's working with them, she's telling her story, and it is a very elaborate story. I don't want to, give spoilers because I don't do that, but she has a very enticing story, and she's learned some incredible skills. I will say this much because I want y'all to watch the show. I feel like enough people don't give it its flowers. So she does recognize herself as an angel. It's not even like a self-title, like other people recognize her as an angel as well, because she is an enlightened being with special powers. It turns out that her captor specifically targeted those who have experienced out-of-body experiences, which is another theme in astral projection. And so she has these heightened abilities in common with the rest of the captors that she was held with. So yeah, that whole 7 years, she wasn't alone. She was in a dungeon with others that had similar out-of-body experiences. So yeah, so she navigates through her new world of, being back with her adopted parents. She was adopted, if I mentioned that, and she's originally from Russia. So a lot of her journey has to do with finding out what happened to her dad, because she doesn't think that he actually died as she was told, and also finding the love of her life, who she found when she was originally held captive by the psychomaniac, mad scientist, basically. So it's a great show. Again, there's 2 seasons. I give the OA at least a 9 out of 10. Like, this is one of my favorite shows ever. Okay, so you definitely got to give it a watch. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Yeah.